Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and hey, 2 videos and 2 wins for the Montreal Canadiens as they beat the Philadelphia Flyers 4-2 in their second preseason game of the 25-26 season. It was definitely more of a convincing victory than the one we had the night before, but hey, a win is a win regardless. So yeah, it was good to see. I think we had some solid play out of the other half of our group of guys who are going to be in those AHL, NHL positions. So it was good to see some of the guys. We got to see our top forward line out there, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. We got to see some of our other guys. We got to see both of the Jack guys. Obviously, they both had a big game today. And then guys like Vinzenz Roar, which is a guy who I said in earlier videos might be making the team. I don't know how I feel about that now, but I think he had a solid game. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, it was good to see a lot of those guys play, and I think we had some good efforts from a lot of our players today. Starting off in the first period, the Canadiens definitely had the jump early in the game. I think having that top line out there was really helpful. We got some good offensive chances, and then really early on, less than a minute into the game, Suzuki kind of capitalizes on a mistake in the defensive zone, or I guess the offensive zone of the Flyers, takes the puck up the ice, and then just gives it to Hudson, and Hudson does the rest, right? He makes a nice pass over to Caulfield, and Caulfield doesn't really make a mistake when he's got a wide open one-timer there. So he's able to bury one early, and that's definitely a good way to start. Definitely better than the way we were able to start the game yesterday. So it was good to see that top line out there getting opportunities and capitalizing on them really early on. I think that's a really good sign for our group. And then outside of the top line, I thought a lot of our other players had some really solid play. One guy that really stood out to me was Joe Veleno. He was all over the puck tonight, I think. I've seen him play against us, obviously, like past season with Detroit, but I guess I wasn't really familiar with his game. He was just he was flying all over the ice. He's definitely not playing to the same level that we see out of our top line, but I was really impressed with his game throughout the entire thing. Like early in the first period, he had a nice kind of like spin move off the wall to kind of get a scoring chance there, and he had a lot of other just kind of nice like escape moves and different things where he was playing physical, kind of moving the puck around. That I was really impressed with his game today. Later on in the first, we had Florian Jack-Eye getting a goal. He as he was kind of falling down, kind of took a shot and got right through the, right under the arm of the Philadelphia goaltender. It was off of a nice kind of like forecheck and then pass by Tyler Thorpe. So it was good to see. Thorpe had a really good game as well. I thought he was kind of playing physical and stuff like that. So those two guys, combined for that goal, and it was really awesome to see. Obviously, both Jack-Eye brothers got a goal today, and their mom was in the stands to watch them play together for the first time with the Canadiens. So that was a really cool moment, just to like cap off the win and all that kind of stuff. That's a really cool thing to see. And another thing I wanted to mention about that goal was all of that kind of started in our own defensive zone, and David Reinbacher actually made a nice play, moving his feet, getting good speed, and then getting a dump in. That dump in immediately led to like the Thorpe forecheck that led to that goal. So it was cool to see Reinbacher using his feet and making a nice play to get out of our defensive zone, and that immediately led to a goal the other way. Some other guys I thought were really impressive today. Obviously, every time Lane Hudson steps on the ice, especially in the Bell Center, he's just a fantastic player. Like every time, especially tonight in this preseason game, I thought every time Hudson had the puck or he's around the puck, he was just dominating the ice. Like when Hudson had the puck, something was happening. He's making a nice breakout pass in our defensive zone, or he's making some offensive opportunities happen. Like he's just super impressive on both ends of the ice. So not surprising at all considering what we saw from him last year, but he definitely picked up where he left off in this preseason game today. I also thought Joshua Waugh, I think we've been expecting him to kind of take a step, and I think he did today. Didn't get really on the score sheet or anything like that, but I think he was pretty good in terms of, he was forechecking well and making some nice plays. So I was happy to see that. And then on our top line, obviously, we know what to expect from our top line, but I thought Slavkovsky had a really nice game today. He was really just kind of demanding the puck, when the other team had it kind of in our offensive zone. Slav was kind of putting the body on. He caused a couple of turnovers, got himself a good chance that he was unfortunately able to just put wide of the net, but generally speaking, he was really forechecking well, and I was really impressed with his game. He got kind of cut by Dvorak. Dvorak wanted to make sure Slav didn't forget him after he left the team. So he got cut by the skate in the cheek there. So that could have been a lot worse in all seriousness. But luckily he was able to kind of shake that off. Through the majority of the second period, there wasn't a whole lot of offense. Slav and Hudson were making some solid plays into that second half. There was a play with Florian Jacki and Vinzen's Roar. They almost kind of scored on a chance. I think Hudson had the puck in the defensive zone. He kind of just sent it all the way down, and Florian Jacki was able to beat the icing, almost wrap the puck around, got a little wraparound goal, and then Roar was able to take a follow-up shot that just didn't quite make its way through. But it was cool to see the two of them kind of work together, and they almost got something done there. And then adding on to his already impressive night, scoring a goal, Florian Jacki decides he wants to pick a fight with Delorier on the Flyers, who is definitely a bit above his weight class, but it was a nice fight. I don't think Jacki won that fight by any means, but it was still cool to see him, drop the gloves, not afraid to take on a tough customer like that. So that was cool, and it definitely added to his night in general. He definitely stood out for many reasons, and I think that's definitely one of them. I also thought Jakub Dobeš had a really nice, obviously didn't let any goals in his time on the ice through the first, period and a half. I thought he played pretty solid. He didn't have a ton of, high danger opportunities. I think the Habs were playing pretty well defensively up to that point, so he didn't have a ton. I think he had 9 shots and 9 saves there in that first period and a half where he was in, but I still thought he played pretty solid through that time, so it was good to see him kind of pick up where he left off in the playoffs last year and play some solid goaltending for us. The same can unfortunately not be said for Kapanen, as he came in and pretty much immediately got scored on. Reinbacher had a pretty unfortunate play. He just a puck just kind of flew up into his direction to the neutral zone, and he tried to knock it down instead of kind of letting the puck come to him. It's a tough play, but you'd like to see him, as a defenseman in that position, be able to kind of corral that and make a play to get it out of the dangerous area. But Philadelphia was able to pick that puck up and go in on a breakaway pretty much right after Kapanen had got in. So it was kind of a rough start for him, but he let that one by. So, a little bit of a fault on Reinbacher there. I think it's definitely a tough play to kind of corral that puck because it's kind of floating in the air towards him. But, you would like to see him be able to make a smarter play there to kind of clear it out of the way. Not long after that, though, Slavkovsky was able to get back onto the ice. I think he must have gotten stitches on his cheek from that cut from Dvorak there, and pretty much right his first shift after that, he was able to break into the zone with a puck, find Suzuki. Suzuki just kind of ripped it and buried it. So definitely good to see those guys playing well, and also a huge sigh of relief. For the second time in 2 days, we have a star player on the Canadiens kind of leave the ice for a brief period and not knowing whether or not he's coming back. But it was good to see that he was okay. I don't think anybody was super worried, considering he kind of skated off pretty normally, and but when he came back onto the ice, he looked pretty good, and obviously got the assist right away. So it was good to see that he was good, and also that he was able to kind of add to the stats and give us a 2-goal lead there. That 2-goal lead didn't last too long, though, because we took a penalty, and then Owen Tippett on the power play kind of just took a random shot from the side, which kind of just snuck by Kapanen. That one, I thought, his first goal, it's a breakaway. He just got in, okay, but that one I think is one that you'd like to have a save there. He kind of just, no real passing. He kind of just had the puck and took a shot and just kind of snuck right by him. So that's one you'd like to see a save on, but not a huge deal. Still have a 1-goal lead, but yeah. Other than that, though, I think that was the one power play goal that Philadelphia had. So I think another night where the Habs had a couple penalties to kill, and they did pretty well, all things considered. They had a 5-on-3 penalty kill earlier in the second period with Reinbacher on that kill as well, and I thought he and the rest of the Canadians did a pretty good job killing throughout this entire game. So it'll be interesting to see what the final penalty killing lines are going to look like for the Canadians, but it seems like a lot of our guys are willing to step up into those roles, and it'll be interesting to see what the final results are. And then into the third period, I thought we had a couple guys who were playing pretty well. In the third, obviously, at the end of the third period, Arbor Jackeye was able to, match his brother in getting a empty net try. He had 2 chances at the empty net, and he buried his second one. So, obviously, an awesome night for both of the Jackeyes scoring goals in front of their mom and their first game playing together. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, before that, into the third period, I thought Reinbacher, I think a lot of defensemen would get a little bit discouraged after letting in, allowing that breakaway earlier in the second period to go by. But I thought he played really poised in the third period. He had 2 different things that I saw from him kind of right away in the third period. He had some good poise to get a breakout. And then later in the game, he had a really good chance where he kind of absorbed a hit. He was on the wall in the defensive zone, just took a hit, kept the puck on his stick, made the pass to the center position, and they got a clear. So I thought those were 2 really poised plays from a young defenseman, and I think that gives me some hope for Reinbacher that he's going to develop well. Obviously, I think the whole thing with Reinbacher is just, he missed a ton of time last year, and also just young defensemen just take a really long time to develop in the grand scheme of things anyway. So I think from what I saw from him today in general, I think he played a solid game, but I do think that what I said before about my lineup predictions is going to come true. I think he's going to, really benefit from a season in Laval, and it'll be good to see where he is, and then hopefully, this time next year when we see him in the preseason, we'll be able to see that development that he's made. Slavkovsky and Hudson continued to play really well in that third period. I had to rewind the stream into the third period because there was a play kind of earlier in the third period where Slav got a pass from the defenseman in the defensive zone and just zipped a pass like across the defensive ice to, I think, Suzuki, and then they were immediately able to kind of give that puck up to Caulfield, and Caulfield got a good offensive possession, but it was just a really nice quick pass for a breakout by Slavkovsky, when it's just like something you really like to see out of your wingers in the defensive zone, and it's good to see Slavkovsky making some good defensive plays there that lead to offense. And then Hudson in the third period just doing, Lane Hudson things. He was able to kind of midway through the third period, was able to kind of get the puck out of a scrum on the wall and just kind of use his edges and, get low and use his speed to kind of get around the forechecker. He was able to come around the net, and then he was able to find Florian Jackeye kind of streaking out on the opposite side, made that stretch pass and gave Jackeye kind of a 2-on-1. That got saved away, but it was just like Hudson is just, one of those defensemen that just can just make that play where other defensemen I don't think are going to be able to make that happen. But it was just using his speed and his edges, all that kind of stuff to get around forecheck and just make that 2-on-1 happen just based off of all of the skill that he was using there. So that was a really cool thing to see, and I'm excited to see a lot more of that into this season. But yeah, as I mentioned, we got the empty netter from Arbor Jacki at the end of the game. We got the 4-2 win. So that was definitely a solid game from the group overall. My 3 stars of the game, obviously Lane Hudson just like the glaze is real. I get it, but I just think every time he touches the puck, he's just dominating that puck. Like nobody can get the puck off of him. He makes plays happen. He's defensive, getting stuff going offensively. Just he's a very, very impressive player, and I'm excited to see what he can do in his second season. The one thing I would say that Hudson could work on a little bit is there's definitely some times where Hudson on defense can get beat by some faster forwards. He took a penalty in the game at one point because he got beat a little bit, and then he got the puck stripped off of him and had to kind of get a hook to prevent the forward from kind of going in on goal. I think we saw a little bit of that last season as well. And that's something he can just kind of work on and being smarter about where he's where he's going, the passing options he has when he's skating back in the defensive zone with the puck. But very, very small things and an overall very positive game. And then my other 2 stars, Slavkovsky, I thought, you got to give him the nod after, getting cut by a skate and then getting an assist right after he comes back into the game. But, in general, I thought he was just really, commanding of the puck as well. Not really in the same way that Hudson was, but just like off the puck, he was really, tenacious about forechecking and getting that puck back, causing some turnovers, causing some, offensive chances and things like that. So I thought he played really impressive. And then, as I had mentioned before, Joe Veleno, I thought was just really impressive just the whole time. Every time he was on the ice when he had the puck, like he just really impressed me. And I just really wasn't familiar with his game. So I thought he was really impressive. And, I think guys like Owen Beck and Oliver Kapanen are really going to have to fight Joe Veleno off for that final roster spot. Outside of that, I thought Vinzen's Roar, me and Vinzen's Roar. I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to crack the lineup. I think that there are just too many, solid options, which is definitely a good problem to have for the Canadiens organization. But I thought, every time he was on the puck, he was really, he was moving quick. He was making solid plays. He was physical, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from a guy of his stature, but I think he made some nice plays, got some offensive opportunities, so he looked nice. Thorpe obviously got the assist on that Florian Jacki goal, but it was kind of all over the puck as well. And then both Jackis, obviously, I think the stars of the game from the outside perspective. Both getting goals. I thought Arbor Jacki had just like people have been talking about him from camp and stuff like that too. Like he looked a lot quicker. He looked like he was making a lot more smart decisions with the puck when maybe he hadn't been in the previous season. So I thought him and his brother obviously as well with a goal and a fight. I think both of them played really well. Really nice games from both of them. And then in goal, Dobesh, I think he played really solid. He didn't have, too much trouble with, what he was seeing out there in the first period and a half. I think that we played some pretty good defense to help him out there. Kapanen, on the other hand, like the one goal, I'll give him, that one where he was cold coming in and then a breakaway opportunity. But you would like to see him make that save on that power play goal. It really didn't utilize the power play all that much. It just kind of snuck by him. So, as of right now, I'm feeling pretty good about having him projected to be in the AHL. But, for Dobesh, I think I'm going to need to see a bit more. He was solid, as I said, but, especially considering how well Jacob Fowler played yesterday against Pittsburgh, it'll be interesting to see how the two of them compete with each other throughout the rest of preseason and camp to see who gets that backup position. But yeah, an overall great win for the Canadiens, and we move on. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.